Hey everyone, Matt from Bachmann back here again, joined as always by Tyler Haney, and for the first time, a face which some of you may recognize, Dan from TCS.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
So today we're going to be focusing on some of our DCC and sound products. We've had a lot of fantastic DCC and sound locomotives come out in our range in the last couple of years with really wonderful sounds, courtesy of TCS. So we're going to be talking about some of those.
Absolutely. And Dan, thank you for very much for joining us. What's your official title? Remind me at TCS. I know you're very involved, but just for people who are not
Yeah,
familiar.
I think with being very involved comes no official title. I wear many hats here at TCS, though I suppose if you had to boil it down, it would be engineering, product development, product management, things of that nature. Yeah, a
And
little
the
bit
friendly
everything.
face of TCS.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah. So I've
Very
worked
cool.
with you guys quite extensively over the last couple years to help develop the models and really come out with some amazing products and escalated the Bachmann and TCS collaboration to a whole nother level that hasn't been seen before.
Yeah, it's been a great few years, and like I said, we've had some really fantastic products, which really come to life thanks to your decoders. Um, so before we get started on going over some of the products, why don't you give us a little bit of a history of TCS and how you guys came about?
Sure, yeah. The company was officially founded in 1999 by our CEO and owner, John Forsyth. I came on board in 2017, and I've been with TCS ever since. Our earlier history, Train Control Systems, the name of the company. The original ideology was to make a DCC command station, but what's easier than making a command station? Making a decoder. So that's where it actually started. And over the past 20 years, we've been working towards actually making a command station.
Okay.
And until recently, where we've actually come out with one. But over the course of the last, 20 plus years, been committed to continuous improvement, listening to our customers, and all of our engineering and development production, as a matter of fact, is all done here in the U.S. In Blooming Glen, Pennsylvania.
Which is
So
not too
it's
far down the road from us here at Bachman.
that's true. Yeah, we're right up the line from you, not much more than an hour away, if that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so we're going to be going through a few of our demonstrating a few of our products that have TCS systems in them. So we're going to be showing some stuff that we have in our line right now, but we're also going to be showing some stuff that has not been seen yet at all. We're pretty excited to show that off. So Tyler, what do you think? Should we what should we start with?
Well, Matt, since you're at home with your home layouts, I know you've got some in stock items that you wanted to demonstrate. So why don't we start with that?
All right. So I'm gonna move over to this camera here. All right. So we've got three very different products here. We've got our Spectrum K4, which is a stalwart of our line. It's been part of the Bachmann range for many years, and it was recently reintroduced with fantastic WowSound from TCS, which really brought it to life like never before. We've got our fairly recently introduced J3A Hudson sitting next to that. Again, comes with the WowSound system, and next to that we have something that we know a lot of you have been asking about, and that is our Via Rail cab car. Not actually a locomotive, not powered in the sense that a locomotive is powered, but this is also powered by it's also got TCS WowSound. Um, I'll go through the steam locomotives, demonstrating some of the functions and the different sounds that you can get from them. Although this is actually a non-functional sample of the cab car. Tyler has the functional sample that we'll pass over to him for that. So
Yes.
yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna go and get this set up here with the controller. So if you guys want to maybe talk us through a little bit about what you can expect on these steam locomotives.
Well, we'll start with the K4 right there in the foreground. That is a Spectrum quality model that's been in our line for some years. And as you mentioned, it now is equipped with TCS, WowSound. Uh, we have both pre-war and post-war variations, and I believe we have pre-war on your layout today, Matt, with four road numbers, all Pennsylvania, four road numbers, two for both pre-war and post-war versions.
All right.
And Dan, maybe you
Let's
can
see.
tell us about some of the features that come standard with
Yeah, there
Are we
seems
getting
like
an
there's a
echo?
bit of an echo now in the audio, but yeah, I'd be happy to talk about some of the features on this engine.
All right. Is this any better?
It seems like it's gone now.
Okay, right.
It's funny you mentioned about features because Bachmann has actually been a driving factor for us on our development to introduce new features. For example, the older generations of our decoders prior to working with you guys never supported DC sound. But now with the many projects we've done with you guys, starting with the ACS 64, we introduced DC mode sound. So that's technically a feature that's also available in these models. If you have a DC power pack, you can run them on and they'll make sound, chuffs, bells, whistles, all that fun stuff. We also have some new Rule 17 features and lighting effects that you can program that allow you to run forward and reverse individual lights. Then obviously there's your stock standard stuff. You've got chuff sounds, you've got cylinder cocks, you've got injectors, idling sounds, the generator, and all of these functions are accessible both with a regular DCC command station that has access up to 28 functions, or the unique feature that we have for Bachmann products, which is the function pagination system that allows users with, let's say, less advanced systems that may only have access to 10 buttons to be able to access all 28 buttons just by using the first 10 buttons. So you press button 8 2 times and it changes the page, so you can access buttons 11 to 19 instead of 0 through 9. And that feature is also available in all of the new Bachmann projects.
Yeah, that's correct.
Naturally, when we program these from the factory, they will come with the prototype correct sounds. So the K4 has the K4 whistle and a K4 bell and an accurate chuff set. And likewise with the J1A Hudsons, New York Central whistle and an appropriate bell, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So I think we've got this locomotive up and running now. I'm going to bring it forward here and go through some of the sounds for you. All right, so I've got the headlight on first.
Hopefully that's coming
to be able to hear the dynamo
for you folks watching. That's CD quality, 16-bit sound.
Yes, that's
fantastic,
true. So
really clear
one
sound.
of the key features of our decoders, if you're comparing them to other manufacturers, is the audio fidelity and the audio quality that our decoders offer. Because we use SD card technology to store our sounds, we can store more sounds and we can store them in a higher quality. So some decoders might claim to be 16-bit audio, and we are a true 16-bit decoder with a 16-bit audio codec at 44.1 kHz, which is CD quality.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to hit the whistle here. Like I said, this is an actual K4 whistle. Now I'm curious, where did you guys find a K4 whistle?
That was recorded before my time, so I can't tell exactly where, but we have had some sessions where we have collectors or individuals who own whistles that we've collected them together and then had I believe it was a steam tractor or like some sort of traction engine that we took all these dozens of whistles out to a field somewhere in Pennsylvania and recorded a whole bunch of them with the natural reverb off of the environment. So all these whistles, you'll hear the reverb on them and whatnot. It's all natural. There's not a lot of editing or post-processing that we put into our sounds. It's a lot of authentic reverb, authentic sounds that you're going to get from these models. It actually sounds
That's
like
awesome.
this one here has been reprogrammed to one of the Reading Hooters, or that might be the T1. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, there's a lot of different selections. Like I said, with the SD cards, you have a lot of options for sounds. We can store a lot of different whistles, chuff sets, bells, all the peripheral sounds and things like that. So you're not just getting a model from Bachmann that is locked into, two or three whistles or a bell or two and a single chuff set. You've got the ability to customize it if you would prefer to have another whistle. Like, I believe all of these projects, they have pretty much our entire catalog of whistles and bells. So you can run these as if run them however you feel, whatever sort of sounds that you like to your ear, or if you want to run them prototypically, you can do that too.
It's awesome. All right, I'm going to bring the K4 forward here for a little bit, and then we'll take a look at the Hudson. And I don't know how well it's translating over the stream, but the fidelity in that is just fantastic. It sounds like the bell's right here at scale size in the room.
One thing that
Sounds great.
I've enjoyed working with you guys on in these projects has been improving the audio quality in the models. And that not only just comes from slapping another decoder in it, but it also comes with the audio engineering as well, from the physical nature. And that includes things like using a higher quality speaker, rechambering the models and rechambering the enclosures of the speakers in order to optimize the frequency response and also the volume. And that's something that you'll see with the latest runs of K4s, even if you compare them to the earlier runs of the same models, the K4s.
Gotcha. I'll bring this forward here.
Mm-hmm. A couple other features, not to speak over the locomotive there, Matt, but I think another great feature that we've gotten a lot of feedback on that TCS has provided is your Keep Alive device that keeps the locomotive running when you have dirty track or you have a temporary power interruption. That Keep Alive device keeps it right on rolling.
Very true, yes.
That's something we need on this layout right now, because I did not have time to clean the track before doing this. So let me tell you, I'm very glad that we're doing TCS models today.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get the take the K4, turn the sound off on that. So here's the Hudson. This is a more recent introduction to our line. This came out, I believe it was early this year or late last year. Again, now I'm assuming, again, because this is another locomotive type that there aren't. Not only are there none that are active now, there are none that exist now, sadly. But was this another one of the whistles that you got hooked up to in the field to record?
Yes, New York Central actually used two different whistles depending upon the service of the engine and as well the era, or like the, generation, let's call it, of the engine itself. And we did have recordings of those whistles. There's a 5 chime and a 3 chime, I believe, if I remember correctly. And in this project, if you use the rotate feature, which is the single button that you can use to change the whistle or the bell or whatever, you will hear the options for New York Central. The default, I believe, is the 5 chime.
So we got this is the whistle that comes pre-programmed as your standard whistle on this.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
Love the sound
And
of that.
we actually, there's actually a fun story about this, about how we determined which whistle was the correct one from our existing library. We have some actual drawings of the whistle that was used on these engines, some actual like schematic drawings. And we were able to calculate the frequency of each one of the bells in the whistle. And by kind of like synthesizing that ahead of time and then putting a little bit of reverb on it, we were able to say, okay, well, these perfect notes would sound like this, but no casting's perfect and no actual whistle is going to sound like that. but it has the same frequencies as what you'll hear coming out of this whistle that we did record. And so this is the whistle that they used, Newark Central, for these engines.
That's very cool.
That is really impressive.
All right, now bring the Hudson forward here. And before we move on from these, are there any other sounds that you would recommend that we should show off?
Not specific things, but there is one other thing that I'll mention that has to do with our decoder specifically, and that is, especially if you're a Bachmann customer who's more familiar with the other manufacturers, any other OEM projects, is the chuff intensity from our decoders is based on the load. So just like a real steam engine, as it would be operated in real life, there's a dynamic change in the chuff rate, the volume, or that you're going to hear, and it has to do with the load. So the higher the load that the engine's under, the louder the chuffs are going to be, and vice versa. If you're going down a hill, if it's not pulling a lot of cars, if it's just coasting, you're going to have that chuff rate, or not the chuff rate, chuff volume decrease, and then as soon as you load it back up, it's going to come back. This is a feature that ties in very well with, we call it like a cruise control. It's based on the motor control algorithm that we use, which is exclusive to us and been developed over our long history. And something we're very proud of. Our motor control is the best in the industry. We can run exceptionally slow speeds, and we can very accurately sense the load and use that to make changes to the way that the sound performs. Not only just for the chuff intensity, but we can also do things like start playing snifters automatically when you're going down a hill, things of that nature. Rod clank as well. But I think that's about all that I have.
Is there a way to demonstrate that? I don't have the track ends right beyond the charger or the venture cab car there. If I was to put my hand on the tender, would that demonstrate that?
Yeah, basically anything you can do to increase the load. You might hear it more with the K4 than with this one. But if you were to just put your hand behind it and put a load on it or grab a hold of the engine or whatever, you should hear that the intensity of the chuffs increases dramatically.
Let's give that a try.
Let's put it to the test.
I see what you mean.
Probably doesn't come
features I knew we had on these,
the audio on the camera, but if you're a customer looking, interested in these models, you can definitely pick one up for yourself and see for sure that it's really realistic, very prototypical. It's a really great feature.
It is, yeah. All right, I'm going to move back to the main camera here, and well, first of all, let me move this Hudson out of the way here for a second.
Yes.
Because we should probably talk a little bit about this.
Yes. The Siemens Venture Via Rail Canada cab car.
Quite a mouthful.
Yes. So Matt, I'll kind of take the lead on this one. So the Via Rail cab car is something that we've had people asking about, for the past couple of months. We released the rest of the Via Venture cars, the coach class and business class cars, at the end of last year. And the cab car, which has DCC and sound on board from TCS, that began development at the same time. We ran into some challenges with creating the ideal acoustics and volume level to make the cab car audible, especially, on the end of a complete consist of Via Venture cars and the SCV42 charger as well. So we've had some back and forth with TCS and with Bachmann's engineering team overseas, and we've found a solution that we think works really well, and we're going to be excited to demonstrate it today. I'm going to tilt my camera down here, and you're going to see another via cab car. This is a engineering sample, which, as you can see, is mostly unpainted. And just for context, here is the via SCV-42, which we released last year. But we're going to turn on the easy command here and let you hear the sound on board. Hopefully.
And Tyler, this does have the updated enclosure design, correct?
This does, yes. This is the latest and greatest sample. Pardon me, I'm going to shift my
This was
camera.
a fun one to work on. It's a very unique, unconventional way of doing sound in a model, but I think it works very well for this particular application. If we can, real quick, can you actually show the camera the way that it's set up?
Yes, I can. As you can hear, the sound just came on with the, I believe that's the, well, first that was the emergency brake application. I'll take it off the test track here. This is the speaker solution we came up with. It is in the rear vestibule with the actual speaker vent out of the rear doorway.
Yeah, so we've got a 28 millimeter speaker there mounted vertically and sealed against the back, basically, of the car body, where the pass through would be for the doors. And this was really the only way to get a volume level that's on par with or better than the chargers, the locomotives. And any other solution that we were looking at on this model was, it just didn't have the same impact, didn't have the same volume. And
Mm-hmm.
your typical, or I'll say traditional, method of doing sound in a model like this, and this also applies to the chargers, the locomotives, is to throw a speaker on the bottom in the fuel tank. Well, this thing doesn't have a fuel tank. It has some HVAC systems on the bottom, but they're not as wide, they're not as large, they're not as deep compared to the fuel tank. And so the speaker that you can fit in there is just, it's too small. It's not powerful enough. And after some serious thought and some back and forth on testing things, this is the solution that we came up with, and really impressed with it. And we think that customers will be as well.
Yeah, I'm going to show you just how the acoustics and volume came out with this solution. I do want to add, for those of you who may be concerned about the appearance, since this is a engineering sample, it does not have most of the detail parts installed, and couplers, handrails, anything of that nature. You can see here there's some loose parts on here. So on the actual model, and Matt, maybe you can show this on your decorated sample, it does have the diaphragm around that doorway, which will make the speaker a little bit less obvious, especially when it is coupled up with the full consist. But without further ado, let's hear how it sounds.
So that's how the diaphragm looks. And like you said, it may be painted black.
Yes, that will be something we can accommodate to help further make it blend in. And to answer a quick question, Dan, there's somebody asking in the chat if the cab car has audio assist, and I believe it does, correct?
Yes, it does, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yes. There is going to be a smaller selection of audio functions and options. Most obviously, because this is an unpowered cab car, it does not have a motor in it, so you're not going to have any prime mover sounds, but you will have many of the other sounds that were included in the SCV-42, including the special English and French bilingual station announcements. As I was saying, without further ado, let's hear how it sounds.
Love that it's got the correct Canadian horn on there.
One other thing that you can show off, Tyler, is on the cab car models, we also included HVAC sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I believe that you turn those on and off with button 6.
Okay.
That's not the HVAC sound you're hearing right now.
Yes,
I
that
don't
is a
remember that recording.
car racing by on Erie Avenue. This is the HVAC sound now.
Doesn't seem to be picking up on the microphone.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if I can bring it a little bit closer. How's that? Is that a little more audible?
I'm not hearing it. Are you hearing it, Matt?
No.
Okay.
I think I can hear a little bit of it. It's I mean,
Yeah.
it I guess what would be the best way to describe it, Dan?
Well, it is authentic Siemens HVAC. So that's the key point.
Okay.
But it's really just like, I don't know, sounds
There
like
we
an air
go.
conditioner running.
Yeah. And the reason that sound is able to keep playing is because this does also have a keep alive capacitor installed.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
So,
really an important feature on powered cars with lights and lightweight vehicles, rail vehicles like these, because it doesn't have a motor in it. It's not as heavy as a result, and so your power pickup is going to be a little bit less reliable. So having the keep alive included makes sure that there's no interruptions in the sound, and your lights don't flicker as well.
yeah, so that there is our long-awaited update on the Venture Cab Car. Are going to have to ask you folks who have been waiting for it to wait a little bit longer because these are going to be scheduled to deliver in 2025. But about the same time that the cab cars are delivered, we're going to be having the rest of the Via Venture cars restocked, and I believe we're also going to have a restock of the SCV 42.
Yeah, anybody who's upset at Bachmann can direct those complaints at me because it's kind of my fault because I wasn't happy with how it sounded. So
Right.
we
Yeah.
we took our time to deliver to you, the customer, a better model.
Yeah.
Well, we
No.
have
No blame on you, Dan. You guys did a great
I know
job.
I'm being sarcastic, but yeah, at the end of the day, we want to make sure you guys get a quality model and
Mhm.
you get more than what you paid for. So that's the goal.
Absolutely.
yeah, no, we're very
So,
excited about seeing this.
yeah. While we're on the topic of VIA, I had seen some comments in the chat suggesting or being under the impression that the stream was all about HO scale, and that's not the case because we have some N scale stuff to show as well. We revealed this on our Facebook page on New Model Monday a couple weeks ago, and we're going to show it off again. This is the N scale version of the SCV 42, doing the road number 2201, the second Charger built for VIA. Has all of the VIA specific features, including that streamlined nose with the auxiliary headlight in the middle there, right below the windshield. It's got the VIA specific horn, and of course that very distinctive VIA paint scheme.
Love that paint scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And we managed to cram a whole bunch of lights in there, didn't we?
Absolutely.
How many lights did we get in that one?
You've got the
That puts it,
you got the working number board lights, right?
working number board lights, the auxiliary headlight, the interior corridor light, all pre-installed, all ready to run right out of the box. And I'm
And the
switching
markers and the
right
headlight
here.
and the ditch lights, right? I got all that too, right?
Can't forget them. We did get some feedback from those of you who had purchased the HO version about how the Via Rail Canada does not have the blinking ditch lights that the American road names have. So that's something we're going to be modifying on future production, including on the N scale version, and this is something that can be turned off in the CV settings. So there's a little bit of a tip for you. And
I
here
think
we
we're
have
making
a
an update to the instructions for these that will also show you how to do that. So in future runs and on the instructions you'll be able to download from our website, you'll be able to see how to, if you have one of the first run, you'll be able to see how to turn off the flashing dish lights.
That's right. So here's our functional sample of the N-Scale SCV42. We're going to fire her up, hopefully. The wonders of doing a live stream.
So it makes it
I
fun.
thought it was a CSX engine there for a little bit.
Right.
And these are
This
just,
was-
it should be mentioned that these are just samples as well. So, when you're working with samples, you're playing with fire a little bit more than you are with
Yeah.
with production models.
Yeah. Well, here we go. I had the wrong sample. That was the issue. So here you go. It's very impressive. For something that small with a smaller speaker and everything, how clear the sound comes through and how close in volume it is to the HO version.
I do think that it's without any contest the best sounding N scale engine that's come out OEM.
Got to show off the whoosh sound of the train rushing by. So the N-Scale SCV42, this will be a 2025 release as well. And while we're at it, we'll show off the rest of the TCS WowSound N-Scale chargers that we have. These, I believe, if they're not shipping already, they will be very soon. These are our two new road names for the SC44. We've got the Altamont Corridor Express Ace and the North County Transit District Coaster, two California commuter railroads with some very attractive, vibrant paint schemes. SC44 has its own unique lighting functions, the strobe lights and the emergency light on the roof.
One of the things I like about that is when you hit the emergency stop on your DCC controller, the emergency light will actually flash, so it actually functions like the prototype would.
And the HO model as well. That's got that same feature. We managed to get that into the N scale model as well.
Absolutely. And then finally, we have maybe the most anticipated N-scale charger. They're all great, but we know you folks are waiting for this one. ALC42 is scheduled to arrive and be shipping to dealers starting in October, and we're going to demonstrate them a little bit more on the October live stream, where we'll have another special guest. Until now, we'll give you a little sneak peek with the Phase 6 number 300, the first ALC42 built.
I like that paint scheme, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a sharp looking paint scheme. Blends in nicely with the silver on the cars behind.
Yeah. And then one more in-stock item that I had almost forgotten about. I want to make sure we're showing off as long as we're discussing the other scales. This was our first L130 project with TCS, the 262T Baldwin World War I trench locomotive.
It's so cute, isn't it?
It is. These were built for use on the European front in World War I on hastily constructed railways that would provide supplies to the trenches along the battle lines. This one's decorated for the United States Quartermaster Corps. I believe these are out of stock or just about sold out at Bachmann headquarters, but you can check your local retailer to find one of these very cool trench engines.
And just to add to the history of those, while they worked primarily in France on the Western Front, some of them were repatriated to the U.S. and others went to the U.K. after the war and are still in steam today.
Hmm. I don't remember the function of them offhand, so I don't think I'll be able to demonstrate it. But there is a video of on our YouTube page showing off the trench engine, and it's got some unique sounds, including uh, both battlefield and military camp sounds, which were specially recorded just for this locomotive.
Did anybody find the songs that we put in there by chance?
There's songs in there.
There's something in there. Yeah, you got to find it. I'm not going to tell you where, but there's some hidden gems in there.
All right.
All right.
If you look hard enough.
And while
I'll,
we're on the topic of narrow gauge, if you happen to be going to the narrow gauge convention in Pittsburgh this week, we'll actually have samples of that locomotive on display, so you can come see it firsthand. So we kind of diverted a little bit from the topic of chargers and modern locomotives, but before we go too far from that and go to what I know everybody's probably really waiting for, we've got a couple of the HO chargers and one of the ACS 64s set up on the layout behind me here as well. So I'm going to take you over to that camera there, and we'll show you a couple of the sound functions on these. All right. So,
ACS 64, I believe, was the first Bachmann and TCS collaboration.
Yeah, the ACS 64, that was the first project we did with you guys, yeah.
Came out great.
And over the course of the few runs that we've had, a handful actually, we've just made some incremental improvements every time. And the latest run of them is definitely the cream of the crop with what we've been able to accomplish in electric sound decoders.
I'll tell you, the first time I turned on my, I have a SC44 was the first one I purchased, and when I turned that thing on and heard the sounds, heard the horn especially, I was just blown away by it. So let's see if we can get this now. I can't remember if I programmed this. Let's see, I think the 901 is programmed to 901. Let's see.
You're trying to tell me you don't run everything on address 3?
it might get a little chaotic if I did that. There we go. All right. So, got the horn and the E-bell. We'll bring it forward a little bit here. Not too far because then it'll run into the camera. One of my favorite features of these.
Your attention, please. Now departing on track 2, northbound train number 130. Passengers are advised to proceed to track 2 at this time. All aboard?
And we have there's a varying selection of announcements that you can play through on these, which really help bring them to life.
Yeah. See if you can play one more.
All right, let me see if I can do one more here.
May I have your attention, please? Now departing on track 4, northbound train number 174. Last call for train number 174 on track 4. All aboard?
And some of you may recognize that's the voice of our very own Vice President of Product Development, Larry Harrington, who recorded a bunch of those announcements.
Now I gotta switch the way my layout's wired. I gotta switch the turnout over here. So give me 1 second.
Well, while he's doing that, I guess I can talk a little bit about the decoder. In the latest version of these decoders that we have for you guys, we have it's kind of like a new sound set. It's a modification of what the original was. And we've got a new behavior in the way that the ACS 64 operates. where as the engine accelerates, it will change the way that the motor sounds in the same way that the real life engines change the way that they sound. And where at low speed you'll hear more of the traction motor whine and the AC converters and stuff like that. As the speed increases, it'll transition smoothly and seamlessly into the hum or the drone of the gearbox. And that was a feature that was not available on the first run of these locomotives. But we do offer that in the later runs, including the most recent one. There's a handful of other things like other sounds that got added, and I think that we added in things like the HVAC sound as well from the locomotive from the ACS, and some new horns, like specifically the horn from 901, SEPTA number 901. We recorded the horn directly off that engine, and it's available in the decoder. Let me think if there's other neat things. Traction motor blowers, all the sorts of little cute noises that these electric engines make while they're just sitting there. Yeah, it's been an evolving product, and I think that if you bought one and you bought another one and you're like, hey, there's some new features on this one, that's why. New sounds.
It's awesome. So with the Chargers, there's kind of an interesting story behind getting these recorded, right?
Yeah, it's certainly a unique experience that we had when working with you guys to record the sounds for this. We legally can't show much about it or talk much about it. But I can say that these recordings were done in a government facility on the pre-shipment locomotives. We actually have a video on our YouTube channel that you can check out that shows a little bit what we can show of the recording process. And we were very sure to be incredibly thorough with this and get all the sounds, get all the correct sounds. And we actually went out, it was myself and two other employees from TCS, as well as everybody's favorite Larry Harrington from Bachmann. We all went out and mic'd up the locomotive. We got these iconic sounds from these Siemens engines, from the blower sounds to the air compressor to even the emergency air brake dump, which you'll hear on these models. And we worked closely, both Bachmann and TCS, with the Siemens engineers to make sure that we could record everything that we wanted to record. And not only that, but also to implement the features that the real life engines have and make sure that they operate the way that the real engines do. An example of that, again, is the emergency brake system, where on the SC44s, they have the red beacon, and they also have the two clear beacons on the roof. And the way that those behave on the real engine is the same way that they operate on the models.
That's actually one of my favorite features. So I'm gonna fire this one up so we can hear some of the sounds, and then we're starting to run a little short on time. So I know a lot of you have been waiting for the big reveal. So we're gonna go through this, and then we're gonna get to that. So let's see. Oh goodness, that was not the sound I was expecting. Let's see. I think the Hudson's still on the track. See. This is what happens when you don't program them from free.
Yeah. You want me to answer a couple of questions real quick, Matt, while you're taking care of that?
All right, let's try that again.
Okay, we're good to go. All right.
Night mode
hold on.
active.
That's the audio assist feature that Dan was talking about that lets you, if you have a system like our Easy Command, which doesn't have access to a full 28 function buttons, that lets you access all of the decoder functions by going through different pages, including light mode.
All right, let's try this again. Now, I've had some wiring issues, which is why you're seeing some stuff go funky right now. Not to do with the locomotives or to do with the decoder, but to do with my layout. So just got to wait for it to reboot here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The classic, have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in again?
Well, that's the issue. I discovered a slightly frayed connection on the wiring
Yeah.
just a couple of days ago, and haven't had a chance to remedy that yet.
It's not even October. It has no reason to be afraid.
All right, let's try and reboot this thing fully. There we go. All right, so we got the classic Amtrak K5LA. Got the E-bell again. Got the emergency brake. And then got Larry Harrington.
Now departing on track 2, northbound train number 180. All passengers should have their tickets, baggage, and identification ready at this time. Have a pleasant day and a safe trip. All aboard.
All right. Bring it forward a
I
little
could
bit
probably
here.
talk for hours about like some of the other little neat features and whatnot on these engines. Like even there, where as the engine's running, you'll hear the traction motors because that's a prevalent sound on these engines. So unlike other diesel decoders, not only do you have a prime mover sound, but you also have a traction motor sound. And when you have a startup sequence, after a couple seconds, you'll hear this like whoop sound, kind of like one of the classic GE whooping compressors, but that's not the air compressor that's kicking on. It's actually the traction motor blowers. And when the engine starts up, you can hear them. And when the engine gets up to higher speeds, or it's been running and the motors are getting warm, you'll hear them kick on as well. So we don't have that behavior on that engine or that decoder, on account of you don't hear it over the motor noises and whatnot. But that's a neat little feature in the way that we cut the sound when it starts up, that you get that little whoop right at the beginning, because you would hear it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Hold on. Dealing with a little bit of an echo here. Like you said, Tyler, the joys of live streams.
Yeah. Dan, I don't know if you can fit many more sounds in these decoders, but if I can make one suggestion.
We could.
Yeah. Well,
You
my
got some
suggestion,
ideas?
because I think you seem to have everything else covered, add the toilet flushing in the restroom of the locomotive.
You want to know a funny story about that?
Oh, boy. Yeah, go
There
ahead.
is a decoder that exists in a real model that somebody made, a friend of the company, that makes toilet flushing noises. And the reason why it does that is because they modified a boxcar and they put some sort of F unit powered chassis underneath it. Redid the truck so it looks like a boxcar. And it's in front of the boxcar. There's a one of those hand powered little trackmobile things, right? With the two little guys.
Yeah.
You made it, Bachmann. And then behind the boxcar is an outhouse on a set of trucks.
Oh, I've seen those
And
things. Those like one
boxcar
of those like little MOW things.
Say what?
They have those in reality. Those maintenance away cars with the outhouse on them.
No, it's just like a scratch built model outhouse.
Oh,
on
gotcha.
a truck. And the boxcar itself is decorated with Scotty's potty paper. So the decoder does sound functions, and it makes all kinds of different weird noises and whatnot. But it flushes the toilet. It makes farting noises. Like
Oh no.
it's really,
This is
a
a
fun
family-friendly
little
stream.
thing.
Let's be careful here. Yeah.
All right, Tyler, we'll have to discuss that for a future project, all right?
Yeah, I'm on it. We're gonna wanted to acknowledge we're seeing the comments in the chat here. I don't know if we're gonna have time for an extended Q&A session this time. I will say real quick, general product suggestions. We can't confirm or deny anything. If you have a product you want to see made, you can always shoot us an email at info@bachmanntrains.com. We do take your feedback seriously. I do have a question here about WowSound and N-Scale, and I do want to clarify all of the chargers that I showed earlier in the stream. Those are WowSound. They're on the same level of sound quality and features as the HO chargers we just showed you.
Now, the one locomotive that we don't have right now, and this is one that I should have brought with me home from the office, but I realized I hadn't when I got here, which is the Dash 8. This is the one TCS locomotive we're not going to be able to show off today, but these actually just came into stock. Now these are TCS sound value, so they don't have quite the same spectrum.
They don't have the same feature set. There's certain things that they don't have, like audio assist was cut out, and the number of sounds available. So unlike with the other engines that we were talking about before, where you have like 40 different whistles and 20 something bells or whatever, you're more limited on your options in that model.
But it is a very cool model, and the iconic GE woof. It's part of it. It's got all the sounds you would expect from a real Dash 8. Very cool locomotive, and these are actually they're just hitting stores now. So if you're heading to your local model railroad shop, check it out. You might see them in stock.
I think we're ready for the main event here, Matt.
I think we're almost going on an hour here. We've dragged it out just about enough.
Yes.
Let's bring the main attraction onto the screen.
Yeah. I saw a couple people asking about it in the comments, and those of you who saw our teaser posts the past couple of days, you may have already figured this out. And you actually may remember all the way back on our first New Model Monday live stream back in the spring. This was the very first model we showed as a engineering sample, and now we have painted samples ready to show you. So without further ado, the HO Scale New York Central Dreyfuss Hudson. It's a locomotive. So these were J3A Hudsons, just like the one that Matt was running on his layout earlier. There were 10 of these streamlined Hudsons built. They were the last 10 New York Central Hudsons. The Dreyfuss name comes from the industrial designer who did the streamlining work, Henry Dreyfuss. And these were built in 1938 to haul the brand new 20th Century Limited, the New York Central's premier passenger train between New York City and Chicago. Give you folks a better look. One of the cool things about the Dreyfuss Hudson and our model of it is we're doing 4 different road numbers for the New York Central, and they all have, they're all different, they're all unique, besides just the road numbers on them. So let me explain. One of the things that sets the different Hudsons apart is the drive wheels. There were 2 different kinds of drive wheels used on these Dreyfuss Hudsons. The first 5 built had what was called a box poke drive wheel, which was also used on all the J3A Hudsons up to that point. Box spoke refers to it being a box construction where the spokes of the drivers were all kind of assembled together from different molds, which made the driver more lightweight and better suited to fast passenger service that the Hudsons would have been used on. And then going back to the one I just showed you, the last 5 built were but with another type of driver, the skull and disc driver, which was an even more lightweight design that the New York Central decided to experiment with. So in this run, we have, as I mentioned, 4 road numbers, and we've got 2 each for the box poke and the skull and drivers. The other difference between these road names is the paint scheme applied. I'm going to hold up the tender now. When the Dreyfuss Hudsons first went into service, along with the 20th Century Limited in 1938, they had the 1938 version of the paint scheme. Matt, can you still see me okay?
It looks like your video might have frozen.
Yeah, that's...
Let me see if I can reset it here. I'll
yeah,
go to...
perfect timing. Hold on one second.
It certainly gives you a nice clear view of the tender.
It does.
Yeah. As long as my still image is on the screen there. When the Dreyfuss Hudson and 20th Century Limited prepared in 1938, you can see there is a blue pinstripe on the outside of the striping band on the tender there. 1940, the railroad decided to simplify the paint scheme a little bit and change that blue stripe to a silver stripe. And I would love to be showing that to you right now. I am going to, Matt, I'm going to refresh my window here and hopefully drop out of the stream and come right back in. So fingers crossed.
All right, we'll be waiting for you. All right, so in the meantime, Dan, oh, look at that. Tyler's already back. Let's see if this works. All right. Sorry,
all right,
Dan,
we're back.
Didn't mean to cut you off there, but
yeah. Now let's show off that tender for you again, give you a better view of the blue stripe here, and give you a good view of the tender as a whole. You've got your doors, which are closed on the model, but would have opened up to for the fireman to access the coal. View of the coal load on top. One of the cool things about the tender here, you can actually see here where they built the streamlined stroud over a regular tender. It's got a very distinctive inset backup light and the ladder here leading up to the an open access hatch to access the water fill. And another fun fact about these Dreyfuss Hudsons, they did last into the 1950s. They were eventually taken off the 20th Century Limited, and they had their streamlined bodies removed for easier maintenance access. So these would most accurately fit in on a 1938 or 39 era railroad for the 1938 scheme, and then the 1940 up to about the mid 1940s for the here's the 1940 scheme. As you can see, it's a little more subdued, but still very classy with the silver outer striping instead of the blue. Gives you another good look there to the left of my hand of these skull and disc drivers, which are newly tooled for the Dreyfuss Hudson.
one of the interesting things about the skull and drivers is when they were when they had their streamlined cladding removed and continued in service, they retained those drivers, so they kind of gave those a unique look to the older ones.
Yes, and I believe some of the other earlier built Hudsons, J3As, as well as some of the other classes like the J1s and J2s, they were on a kind of piece-by-piece, case-by-case basis when they would go into the shop for overhaul. Some of them did merge with skull and disc drivers as well. So that could be a combination that we don't have immediate plans to make, but something we could offer in the future, the non-streamlined J3A with the skull and disc drivers. I'm going to tilt my camera down.
One of the great things about model railroading is, you take something like this and the more you dive into it, the more differences and variations and possibilities you find out about it. It's one of the things I love about the hobby.
Absolutely. So here's the last of the 4 samples that I had get to show you, and I think I'm going to try to get them all in frame here, which may be a little bit difficult. from this angle. But for beautiful streamlined locomotives, they'll be coming into stock in 2025, and we're really excited for them. Last but not least, here on the test track here, we've got the 5445 in the 1938 scheme, and we're going to show off that TCS WowSound. I think that was worth the wait, wouldn't you agree?
Well, I certainly think so. Now, just for well, I think one of the cool things about this locomotive in particular, with the Dreyfuss streamlining, is it's it's not something that just necessarily will appeal to New York Central modelers, but just anyone who loves Art Deco design at that period. This along with locomotives like the Class J from Norfolk and Western. It's just they're just such interesting, beautiful machines.
Yeah, I've often seen in groups on Facebook and other websites that are, not necessarily dedicated to trains, but just, history, design, often posting the Dreyfuss Hudson and other streamlined locomotives from the 1930s. And just, being in awe of, just what a beautiful train it is. They're definitely some of the best looking locomotives ever built.
Yeah, it's one of those locomotives that you don't necessarily have to have a reason for having it in your collection. It's one of those significant locomotives in railroading history.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge fan of the streamlined decorations you'll find on a lot of different engines. I kind of think of it like snow on how when everything's freshly laden snow and everything's all smooth and white, and it just has a certain sort of beauty to it, and you can kind of see that in the streamlined decos for these engines as well. Something that was very chaotic, a steam engine can be, with all the pipes all over the place and all the rivets on the boilers, and you just cover that over with a layer of snow, and that's the streamline kits in a nutshell.
Yeah,
it's a good analogy.
Yeah, these designs in the 1930s, they came out of a period where the automobile was becoming, more and more popular, and was becoming accessible to the general public, and you had air travel being popularized as well. So this was the railroads kind of trying to reinvent themselves and look just as modern and advanced and fast. And in some cases, these were very fast, locomotives on the very flat New York Central route. They didn't save the railroads, but they definitely gave us, some beautiful looking engines from that time period. One little more thing I'm going to share real quick. You can see here, as the model is configured right now, it has the Easy Mate coupler on the front. That coupler can be removed, and you can replace it with this, if I can get it in front of my camera here, the closed coupler door to complete the streamlined look that these locomotives would have had in regular service.
These are, we know these have been highly requested, and we're very happy that we finally have this painted sample we can show you guys, and we're looking forward to seeing these come to market. And just along with them, also, it's probably worth mentioning, Tyler, that we have a new selection of our smooth side passenger cars that'll run in consist with this.
Yes, we do. We're doing a line of our streamlined passenger cars. Our our coaches, dining car, observation car, and baggage car. We're going to be doing the 1938 scheme first with the blue stripes. 1940 scheme, something we'll possibly be adding in the future. And as far as high quality photos, I've seen that in the chat. We're going to talk. I think we'll have a conversation off air, Matt, but I think we can get those put up on our Facebook later this week.
Yeah, we can try that. We should be able to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think we don't have time for a long Q&A because we've had so much fantastic stuff to cover here. And Dan, you've given us some amazing insight into what these models can do. But we do want to have a Q&A. It's part of these streams. It's something that we always want to be able to do. So we can probably go for about 10 minutes or so here, if you guys are still able to do that.
I got nowhere to be.
Yes. And if you folks have any questions for Dan about WowSound and TCS decoders, feel free to leave those in the chat as well.
Absolutely.
Not to toot my own horn, but I know quite a bit about how they work.
So I'm gonna just we've seen a ton of questions come through the chat here. So I'm gonna be scrolling back up and trying to see what we have. Just from memory, I did see a couple of questions relating to the whether we're still doing the S70 streetcars while we're talking about all these Siemens projects. The S70 is something that we're still that's still in development with us. We hope to have some updates on the status of that within the nearish future, I would say. Mm-hmm. So don't despair. We haven't forgotten about the project.
Mm-hmm. I want to answer this one question that has been being asked a lot, and I don't want to leave you hanging about Seaboard Airline number 544 Joe. I was not familiar with that locomotive. I looked it up quickly, and I can see it's a 210 Russian decapod, which we do have in our line at the moment. We don't have immediate plans to do the Seaboard 544, but we do offer a painted unlettered Russian decapod, which has some road name specific detail options that you can swap out to create to customize to the appropriate prototype. So you just wanted if you just put the appropriate paint and decals on that locomotive, you can have your own Seaboard 544. But we do appreciate the suggestion, and we'll keep that in mind for the future.
And just to note, those decapods have a pretty good sound system on them too.
I wonder who made those. Huh?
Yes, that is also a TCS WowSound locomotive.
So let's see. Are there going to be any new TCS? Sorry, go on, Tyler.
Wanted to give a shout out to the Thomas and Friends folks who are interested in those Thomas items in the chat. We don't have any updates to share on Thomas products in this stream, but last week over on the Train World page on Thomas Tuesday, Doug Blaine went over a number of new announcements and reveals. So if you're interested in the latest updates on Thomas items, you're going to want to check out the Thomas Tuesday live stream over there.
Yeah, actually, the last couple of live streams had some pretty good sample reveals. So if you haven't checked those out, definitely make sure you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was question here. Go ahead.
Go. Okay.
It's the delay on live streams. It just makes things that much more complicated.
Yes, I wanted to cover this one because I think you'll be excited with the example. When will Amtrak 662 be available? That would be the Phase 3 Train Sim World 2 ACS 64. Those arrived on a container from the factory in Philadelphia today. They have just been put in our warehouse. Our warehouse team is going to be working on fulfilling pre-orders this week, and they will be shipping out to dealers as well as available on our own website, BachmannTrains.com, very soon.
Yeah. And the other new ACS 64 that was announced at the same time as that one, which is the 600, the David Gunn. That one is actually in stock at retailers now. So, both of those are shortly going to be available. see.
Got a question about are the large coach GP40s on the water? That is another one that is on its way. They are on the water and are currently scheduled to arrive in October.
Going to give a shout out to John Ross, who's turning 35. Who turned 35 today. Happy birthday, John! Thanks for tuning in.
Have a question about straight DC non-sound locomotives. No offense, Dan, but I do want to address this.
Sure
The
thing.
items you're
No?
seeing on the stream here today, right now they are only available with TCS WowSound, just because
Oh,
you know.
okay. They
Hopefully,
work on DC though. They work on
that is
DC.
true. They work on DC, and the sounds will just play automatically. You won't have direct control over them. But they are compatible with DC operated layouts because they have dual mode decoders in them, and we do have a selection of non DCC sound locomotives. Most of which are DCC ready and have a plug in them to install a decoder plug and play if you choose to upgrade. You can check out our website, bachmanntrains.com, to see our full selection.
One of the cool things about the TCS locomotives when they're running on DC is you're not just getting the very base sounds. There is some animation and differences. Like it'll play the. There may be some differences between the models, so I don't want to misspeak here. Dan, what do they do? Say like when you're powering up.
So the universal way that they'll all work, diesel, steam, electric, is you turn your power pack up to a certain voltage. Where's my hand? Here. So you turn your power pack up to a certain voltage and it'll start the idling sequence. So if it's a diesel, the engine will turn on. If it's a steam engine, the idling sounds will start playing. If it's an electric, you'll hear the pantograph go up and it'll start making all these little murmur noises. And then you turn the power up a little bit more, and then it'll start moving. And when it starts moving, steam, obviously plays chuffs. For a short duration, it'll play cylinder cocks. The automatic sounds, if they're turned on, will work. So directional whistles or horns. If you go forward, you get 2 long. You go backwards, you get 3 short. Engine comes to a stop when you bring the power pack down again, and you'll hear your stop whistle or horn. You keep increasing the throttle if you're going up, and eventually the automatic bell will turn off, and your engine sounds are going to ramp up. Your chuff rate's going to increase. Your motor whine's going to keep getting louder. Diesel prime mover noises are going to notch up over time. And one of the features that we have in our decoders, I don't know if this is exclusive, but I think it is that we do use our same motor control algorithm on both the DC and DCC power, which means that you will have the sort of cruise control and load-based behaviors. Now, for steam, that's more important because you'll still get the same variance in the chuff intensity, rod clank, snifters, as you load and unload the engine. It goes up a hill, goes down a hill, increases and decreases in speed. Now, I don't think that's a really common feature, if at all. So that's a nice thing if you're running DC to use one of our decoders. You'll have that feature available to you. There's one other thing. Again, this applies to them all. Doesn't matter what type of decoder it is. If you take the power pack, here it is, and you quick increase, decrease, or decrease, increase, you will hear a pre-recorded quill. So you can trigger a grade crossing quill at any time just by tweaking the power pack.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think that about covers it.
No, that was fantastic. That was definitely more detail than I think either Tyler or I could have provided. So I'm just seeing another question here. Just asking, did we cancel the other paint schemes announced for the G Scale -9? So those were from the start a conditional announcement. We actually had that advertised in the brochure that we had to meet a certain minimum number of orders to ensure that those went into production. Unfortunately, we didn't meet those minimums, but we're by no means giving up on 129 scale large scale. Like Tyler said, we have the GP40s, which are scheduled to arrive in October, and as you may have seen in our mid-year announcements, we just announced a new offset hopper as well. So definitely expect more to come from our 129 scale line, even though these specific Dash 9s are not going to be coming into production at this time.
Yes, and that doesn't mean that we won't revisit it in the future.
Right.
If we get a handle on the demand being there for them.
Right. I think I have some parental obligations I need to get to pretty soon, so I think we can probably do one or two more questions. Do you have any lined up, Tyler?
Yes, I have. I've got two here. I will do one more Thomas update since I do have an answer for this. We had a question about a shipping update on N Scale Emily and Gordon. Those are both scheduled to arrive in December, just in time for Christmas.
This
And
fall's going to be fun in terms of arrivals.
absolutely, it all kind of comes together at the same time. And also, what happened to the DCC Sound FT? That was another TCS sound value project from a few years ago. Those are sold out at Bachmann, so that is why they are taken off the website. You may be able to still find those at your local hobby shop.
All right, I'm just doing a final little scroll through here. Let's see. There is one more Thomas and Friends question here I can ask. It looks like it's the most recent question, and we'll finish with this one. Any update on N Scale Emily and Gordon?
I just
N Scale
answered
Gordon. Did you just answer that?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
did.
I must have been in a different world here.
Okay, that's all right. Like you said, parental obligations.
Yeah, and I'm scrolling through questions myself here as well. So
Yeah, there is a
right.
question for Dan here. From any chance to add a battery control option to the large scale decoders?
I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about that yet, but maybe.
Okay,
Watch this
we'll
space.
leave it to that.
Keep an eye on our website over the next couple months. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Talking about large scale and about the GP40 and the Dash 9, we do something a little bit different in large scale. We don't offer anything with DCC out of the box, but we have a non-proprietary plug-and-play electronics board in those large-scale locomotives, which lets you install any kind of DCC and or RC system of your choice, including TCS's large-scale decoders.
Absolutely. All right, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. Dan, thanks so much for coming onto the stream, and
thanks for inviting me, and thanks for having me. I was
absolutely
glad to be of some entertainment, hopefully, and some information.
Yeah, like I said, you probably were able to give us a much more in-depth, or give our viewers a much more in-depth walkthrough of what these products are capable of than we were. So we definitely appreciate your time and your knowledge.
Absolutely.
All right. So with that, I think we'll call it a night. And as always, thanks for joining us. And we'll see you all next month.
Have a good